Hello, everyone. This is Surinderjit from FinTech Growth Syndicate, joining in from Canada. And I'll be giving you an overview of Paycheck ecosystem in Canada. Thanks to FinTech Week for having me here today. And let's dive in. So since we have an international audience here, before I go on and talk about Paytech, I wanted to give a little bit of overview of the overall FinTech space in Canada. So as you can see, there are about 1,200 plus fintechs operating in Canada at this point. And this includes not just the fintechs that are headquartered in Canada, but a lot of interest from international players from US, Europe, and other parts of the world entering Canadian market and building a customer base here. And over here, you could see that the space is categorized into 11 sectors that includes Paytech, Lendtech, InsurTech, crowdfunding, crypto, and others. So we could say that the ecosystem in Canada is really well diverse in terms of the range of fintechs here. And apart from this, a lot of interest from global VC firms for investing in Canadian fintechs. And I'll also talk about some of the recent acquisitions where we saw Canadian fintech being acquired by global players. So the space is really seeing a lot of activity and things are getting exciting here. So here you could see in this pie chart that following kind of the global standard, Paytech is definitely the largest sector in Canadian fintech ecosystem as well, accounting to almost 1/3 of the ecosystem, followed by Lendtech and then the FiTech and software companies. This data that you see here is actually collected by my company, and we have been collecting this for over 3 years now, and we update it real time to present the ecosystem, the Canadian fintech ecosystem to the world. If you want to know more about it, you can reach out to me later on. Let's move on to the market map. So here you see the Paytech specific companies really divided and categorized into these 18 verticals. Again, showing the range of Paytechs in Canada, right from accounting and finance, payroll, POS, e-commerce, processing, POS financing, which is really big these days, challenger banks. I'll talk about these in the next slides, but this really shows the diversity of Paytech in Canada. And as you'll notice, there are some of the global players here, like you see Intuit, Xero, Stripe, PayPal. We also have Paytm operating. They have an office in Canada. And really, even Revolut started operations in Canada. So you see that, as I mentioned earlier, a lot of interest from global players in Canada as well. Moving on. So I wanted to kind of talk about some of the top Paytech trends in Canada. And of course, like things are happening in each of the verticals that I just showed you, but some of the top trends that are coming up in a big way in Canada. So buy now, pay later, I think it's been a trend globally, and definitely the pandemic has accelerated the adoption of buy now, pay later services, but quickly showing the range of players entering in the space. We would think that it's only the fintech startups that are growing and coming out in a big way. But card networks, MasterCard, Visa, American Express, all of them are running some kind of pilot in partnership with fintechs or their own products in buy now, pay later space. Payments giants. So these are some of the top payments giants, Shopify, PayPal, Square, who who have been operating in other space. As you know, Square has a strong POS presence, and Shopify the e-commerce presence. But even these players have expanded their offering to offer buy now, pay later, clearly showing the interest that's growing in the market for the product. And then I was talking about global players entering Canada. So Klarna, Affirm, Sezzle, Afterpay have also made entry into Canada, really partnering with some big retailers to offer the service. And then, of course, we have the Canadian FinTechs, PayBright, FinanceIt, Credit Genie, and I don't have all of them here, but we do have a good amount of FinTechs in buy now, pay later space in Canada as well. So this really shows the interest that's growing around POS financing, or buy now, pay later, as we call it, in Canada. And I think, as I said, it's a global trend, and Canada is definitely on the right track with the global trend. Moving on to the prepaid trend. So prepaid cards have been on the ecosystem for a while, but in recent times we have seen some innovative use cases. And here I'm showing you some of the use cases around early pay, or real-time pay for gig workers. So the concept is that you could pay your employees upfront, right after either they've provided you the service or after each shift on real-time basis. And the amount is transferred into a prepaid card instead of to their bank account like normal payroll that happens every 15 days or 1 month. So it is transferred right away into this prepaid card that the employee can then use to buy things, or can even transfer the amount from the prepaid card to their bank account, and really giving employees that that power of using the money that they've earned in real time. This product is seeing a lot of adoption in gig economy specifically, and shared economy as well. So Payfare, for example, has partnered with Uber and Lyft, wherein they offer Uber and Lyft drivers the ability to access their pay right after they have completed the ride, or towards the end of the day. So this is one of the innovative use cases, but we've seen other innovations around prepaid, and insurance claims being dispersed through a prepaid card. Really picking that use case is really picking up. We have had a digital ID through prepaid card as well. We'll talk about those some other time, but let's move on. Challenger banks. So we're talking about prepaid, and challenger banks have definitely been using prepaid to enter the space and then expand their products. In Canada, at present we have around 30 plus challenger banks, and really counting them. We update our data, and it's phenomenal how quickly players are entering the space. And as we divide and see what kind of challenger banks these are, so we divide them into beta, neo, and non-players. I'll quickly walk you through how does the ecosystem look like in terms of these subcategories of challenger banks in Canada. So here you see the beta banks. These are actually the banks that are digital, and but these are subsidiaries of some traditional banks or traditional financial institutions, and they are ideally using their parents' banking license, their parent company's banking license, to offer digital services. They operate as a separate entity, but they do have a strong financial institution as a parent behind them. In Canada, we have seen Simply by CIBC, EQ Bank by Equitable Bank, Tangerine by Scotiabank, and then Motive, Achieva, Brightside. So these are some of the banks that are launched by the credit unions, which is really, really interesting considering how the ecosystem is moving in Canada. And then looking at the neobanks, so these are the banks that do not have their own banking license, but they partner with a financial institution and use their banking license to offer their services. So Stack, Coho, Valo, Wingo Card, Revolut as well are operating under this model in Canada. Stack and Every got acquired, so we'll talk about that later on. New banks. So as the name suggests, they're new banks. They have their own full banking license and they can compete with big traditional banks on a level playing field as they have a full banking license. So Motus Bank by Meridian Credit Union, Rogers Bank, PC Financial by PC President's Choice, and Canadian Tire Bank, VersaBank. So these are the players that have acquired a full banking license in Canada. Non-banks. So this is an interesting vertical. These banks don't have a traditional banking license. They also don't have a partner whose license they can use, but they find a way to operate in this system and offer financial products in non-traditional ways. And one of those could be obtaining an e-money license. And this space doesn't have a lot of players. Ideally, right now, we only have 2 players here. But depending on how the regulations turn up in Canada around challenger banking and payments overall, it'll depend if this space sees more players or not. And talking about prepaid, some of the challenges that I just took you through are offering these products that are for retail consumer. And we have not seen a challenger bank in Canada that is catering to the small business segment. And that's kind of a white space right now, which we think will be filled in pretty quick, considering Shopify launched Shopify Balance in US this year, and they have made an announcement that they'll be launching soon in Canada. And then North One and Relay Financial are 2 players that are headquartered in Canada, but interestingly, they launched first in US. So really looking for these players to launch in Canada, especially because the huge small business community here can really benefit from their digital offerings. And again, talking about small businesses, the SMB space, there's this trend that we have observed wherein these SMB ecosystems are being created around a payments product. And they're trying to kind of offer all the services. They started with one product. So Square, for example, started with a POS, point of sale offering, and ability for small businesses to accept a payment. And if you look at their website now, they have a huge suite of product for SMEs, right from the payroll abilities, invoicing, loyalty programs, gift cards. They are into PLS financing, that's buy now, pay later, loans, working capital loans coming in big way from Square. So these ecosystems are trying to become this one-stop shop for small businesses and really trying to cater to all their needs, which is really good thing for SMEs, considering how SME segment has to really struggle to get these services from different players. And as a small organization, it's always tough to deal with multiple players. So these ecosystems are really a positive steps towards how small businesses can really leverage and take advantage of these. Shopify again, I would say Shopify and Square started with a very different product, and they still are kind of in a different space. But if you look at their offerings, a lot of overlaps. Both are offering POS financing now. They do have business loans. Shopify launched Shopify Balance payments product, and Square has a Square Cash app which has seen phenomenal adoption. And similarly, the others that you see here are trying to build these ecosystems for SMEs to be this one-stop shop for them. Now I want to talk a little bit about the activity in the ecosystem around partnerships, around investments, and acquisitions that I mentioned earlier, to see what's really happening with the Canadian Paydex. So acquisitions, interestingly, this year has been really great for Paytech ecosystem in Canada, considering some great acquisitions. So Salesforce acquired Mobify, which is a player that offers e-commerce solutions this year, and it is based out of Vancouver. Apple acquired MobiWave to really go into the payment space in a robust way. And a big deal there, MobiWave is based out of Montreal. Stack, the Canada-grown challenger bank, was acquired by Credit Sesame, and Credit Sesame will be using this acquisition to launch Credit Sesame Cash product. So that's kind of really shows the way the Canadian Paydex are making a mark on the global platform. And here are some of the other ones, like WayPay is a B2B payments company that was acquired by Royal Bank of Canada. So really, you could see the activity happening there, and the Canadian Paydex being, the players are seeing value in Canadian Paydex and hence acquiring them. In terms of investments, I think this is trend generally as well. Things have slowed a little bit because of pandemic, but we still did see some of the rounds in Paytech in Canada. Simon, for example, which is into debt collection space, and DevDot and we. PayBright, which is in US financing, dry run, cash flow analysis tool, really amazing for SMEs. These players have received some funding this year, so really good. And this is only Paytech. We've had FinTechs and other sectors like LendTech and FiTech and software get more funding in Canada this year as well. Looking at the partnership space, so this table really shows some of the Paytechs partnering with either a bank or a tech giant or some other major player to offer the product. Kind of shows how these big players are seeing value in these Paytechs and trying to bring them in their ecosystem and build these strong partnerships to offer their products and take it to their customers. So TD Bank really got into this great partnership with Intuit to offer some great services around SME space. Moneris and Visa partnership, Shopify really saw some great partnerships there. PayBright going big way in terms of partnering with some of the big retailers in Canada to offer buy now, pay later product, and few others. So a lot of activity in partnership space as well. Looking at IPOs, so Lightspeed went public last year in Canada, and I guess they are launching their IPO in US soon. And then Shopify, for sure, the big Canadian FinTech success, went public in 2015. So you're definitely seeing some activity in terms of companies going, Paytechs going public as well. Mind me, I do have a little sore throat today. Okay, talking about some of the regulatory changes happening in the space, and I wanted to touch on these because this is very relevant to the ecosystem in Canada right now, considering so much is happening in order to modernize the payments space in Canada. So, payments modernization initiative in Canada is really getting on its track. So, under this initiative, ideally, the two main parts of it is real-time rails that is being implemented in Canada, and the regulators have put out a consultation to the public to get response around that, and then ISO 222. The standards being launched in Canada as well to ensure that the uh, payments ecosystem and payment standards in Canada are equivalent to what's happening globally. And then open banking, a huge conversation and dialogue happening in the country right now. It's the consultation for open banking in Canada has entered phase 2, and which happened pretty recently, and a lot of discussion happening around that as well. Um, and then retail payments oversight framework, wherein the PSPs and Paychecks are being bought under the regulatory umbrella, and they'll have to follow some of the regulations that apply to big players and FIs. And digital ID and privacy is also seeing some activity there, wherein some standards have been launched at this point to see how the complete digital ID project rolls out in Canada. So that's mainly it. I hope people really got some good insights about what's happening in the payments ecosystem in Canada. And thanks again to FinTech Week for having me here. In case you would like to get in touch with me, I'm sure the FinTech Week team will be there to help you. And yeah, thank you, everyone.